This is John Kaiser at the Metals Investor Forum in Vancouver, September 15th, 2017. I am talking to Ken McNaughton, CEO of Camino Minerals. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
Your Los Chupitos discovery made a lot of waves earlier this year, caused a lot of excitement. You had a very high-grade hole in the beginning, which subsequent holes did not really validate, and yet you have drilled 10,000 meters, you're going full bore. What caused the high grade in the beginning, and what is now your sort of focus for the kinds of grades and widths that you are looking for with your ongoing drilling?
Yeah. I think we actually have validated that original discovery hole. It just took us a while to understand and put that hole into context. So unknowingly, with the first three diamond holes and some of the RC holes that really got the market, way and above past itself, we were actually drilling into the trend of the zone. I wouldn't say down dip, but we were drilling into an area, and we suspected that, which is why we then took the drills and started drilling perpendicular to that section. And so we are in fact producing, good thicknesses, 100, 150 meters of 0.7, even up to, in one of the latest releases, up to 1% copper, which I think validates that. The entire deposit isn't that. I think if we look at the other deposits in the district, they're all averaging 0.7, 0.8. And I think ultimately when we use a reasonable cutoff and likely mostly open pit, we'll probably be in that same range. But we definitely have some very nice plums in there that are in the 1% range. We've got lots of structurally controlled mineralization, which is running 2.5 to 5% over narrower widths, but it's turning out to be a fun deposit. It's got complexity, which makes it interesting. It's got size potential, and it's all open.
Initially, you had high hopes that the chargeability anomaly from the IP survey represented sulfides that hopefully had been enriched with copper. And once you drilled into it, you discovered instead that it was something else. How has this changed the scale potential in terms of tonnage footprint of that area between Adriana, Catty, and Vicky?
Well, we were disappointed. We truly believed that was going to be some type of sulfide system, and what we now believe is it happens, but rarely, that magnetite will actually give you that chargeability response. But until you drill it, you don't know. However, that geophysics was actually screaming at us about structure, which we didn't recognize. We got so focused on the anomaly itself, we didn't actually look at the edges of the anomaly. And so the Diva Fault, which is hosting a lot of our high-grade feeder zone, which is then mineralizing out into the into the volcanics, that shows up very nicely on that IP. So I think our potential is still in the 100 to 300 million ton range. I think the fact that most of the Adriana and now the Catay where we're drilling is actually blind mineralization, I think we haven't taken away from the potential at all. We just understand more the tools that we have. So the geophysics, we won't be so excited about the IP, except we'll use that as a tool to say, well, we've got copper on the margins. Okay, let's look there, not in the IP anomaly.
Now this body of rock that turns out to be the IP anomaly, this magnetite, as you describe it, was that in place when the mineralizing system came in?
I think so, and I believe the magnetite was introduced into it, and certainly in the volcanics off on the side, absolutely, the magnetite's a secondary event. And the thing we do, and we haven't gotten there yet, is what's on the other side of that intrusive that we thought was going to be our Hail Mary. We have to see what's on the other side of that margin, and we've got copper showings over there as well. So Yeah, there's some complexities to the deposit. So, as you say, as a geologist, it makes it fun for us.
Now, the Tahoe target off to the west, it's on the other side of this tongue of what I believe is younger rocks that invaded that whole project. It may be part of a bigger, of an entire connected system. What are you seeing in terms of like this complexity in that target? Could this target, which you wasn't first on the list to drill because only now do you have the community access agreement, is this target potentially stronger than, say, Adriana, based on what you now know about how to interpret the geophysics?
Tahoe was always our first to go to target. However, because of the permitting, we weren't able to go there first. So we were able to obtain our permits quickly at Adriana and Kate. So we're very close to those permits now. We think we'll have them in a couple of weeks. And the reason it was always our number one go-to is because it presents itself extremely well. There's some historical mining, all shallow pits for the most part, and it's well exposed. And then we've come in subsequently and done trenching on the margins and actually found the mineralization is much bigger than what the miners were doing in the 40s and 50s. So yes, I know there's going to be surprises there, and you always hope there's more good surprises than bad ones, but as it sits, it's an extremely exciting deposit or target, and given what we know about the others, we're very confident that we're going to hit a substantial resource there.
A few months ago, you mentioned that the Lost Cabin project, which is, I believe, a gold-silver epithermal play in southern Oregon, you had managed to get permits for that, but you weren't going to make that a priority to drill until you had more money in the treasury. Now that you have almost $5 million in the treasury, where does Lost Cabin sit in terms of priorities for a drill test?
It's on that wish list. Because while and as a manager, which I've had to do for my entire career, we have 50 targets and we have one bullet. And so you have to choose. And so yes, we are well funded. I have to be cognizant that people that put the money in for the Chupitos project. So I always have to weigh what's the potential, and I like Lost Cabin. I really want to get down there and drill it. However, it's conceptual, and so to take very high risk money versus going to a Tahoe, which has mineralization sticking out of the ground, I have to be efficient. I don't have a slush fund of extra money, and we have to be careful to make certain those dollars go to the best targets, and so that's still sitting at Chupitos right now.
In other words, Plan A is still going strong.
Yes.
Thank you, Ken.
Very
I've
good.
been talking with Ken McNaughton at the Metals Investor Forum in Vancouver.